Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino. And today I actually have two special guests, Dylan and Mitchell. How are you guys?
Very well, Cesar. Thank you for having us.
Good. No, that's awesome. So before we dive in, I want to just give a little bit of background to our viewers and listeners of who you are or what you're doing, and just kind of create some content around that. And then we can dive into some of the questions.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So Dylan and Mitchell, they met in school and began their business partnership in door-to-door sales selling smart home technology, living on the road in and out of trucker motels, working a commission-based job, showed one another the true colors, and this was where the high-level mutual respect came from. After school, Mitchell approached Dylan with the business concept of changing the world of real estate through sustainability. Dylan accepted the offer, and both of them formed New Earth Solutions in October 2018. For the first 2 years of business, they lived in a house where you were just as likely to find a dirty spoon in the kitchen as you would a Respira prototype. They've since moved out and are expanding their business across North America and Europe. After 2 years selling commercial living walls to architects and designers, they have recently launched their D2C product. The units are on the water and arriving in North America this December, pretty much this month now, I guess. That's actually amazing. And I'm always fascinated about the idea of how one may start a business or how they come about, right? Before we dive into that though, if you both can kind of give me a little bit of your background, where are you originally from? How's your upbringing like?
For sure. So to begin, Mitchell and I met in school. And I think when we first met, someone that connected us had mentioned to me that he had a friend from his hometown, Oakville, which is where Mitch is from. And that friend really represented and reminded them of me. And so when I met Mitch, I had this presumption or this already existing idea in my head that this guy was going to be like me. And at first, when I met him, I was like, no, we're not the same. We both like to, hang out and talk, and we had a friendship, but in order to actually understand how we were similar, you really have to go back to our upbringings. And I think it really begins with the fact that we were both fortunate to have both parents in the home and a really nice upbringing. And we both played sports, were athletic when we were young and competitors. And that transitioned into a drive for a professional career in sales. And so that's where we first connected. And I remember vividly in second year university, we both were out of jobs. We were looking for a summer job to help pay for school. And there was this door-to-door sales gig that was strictly commission, and both sharing the drive of wanting to control our own destinies and earn what we felt we were worth, more than minimum wage at the time. We shook on our friendship that we wouldn't quit on this job, on this door-to-door sales job. And that was really the basis of better understanding one another and seeing each other struggle and succeed through that door-to-door opportunity that you were mentioning, Cesar. And from there, that the relationship prospered. We not only were friends, but we had a strong mutual respect for one another and saw where we were willing to take it in order to succeed. And that led into a friendship and then eventually a business partnership.
Yeah, that's awesome. How about you, Mitchell?
Yeah, so I grew up, biking through trails and just really appreciating the nature that surrounded me. And was one of those people that kind of looked at what was happening in the world and in climate and kind of made that my mission. I went to school. Dylan and I both studied real estate, and the only reason I got into it is because I thought that was one of the biggest ways I could impact the world was through making real estate more sustainable. And that's just kind of been the general direction my life has headed. And different experiences have just built upon that intention, and that's where we are now, providing a more efficient and sustainable way to clean air.
Yeah, one thing that again I like the idea of the fact that there's a history behind how you guys came about, and the history behind the friendship, right? That essentially turned out to be good for you guys. And oftentimes, just like either a marriage or an actual loving relationship, things don't tend to work out at the beginning. There might be a bit challenging. I guess for those people that have gone through, and I was actually just talking to somebody last week ago where they're business partners, and one of the other business partners ended up taking so much money from the company, from them, and now they're going through this huge legal battle because of that. For those that might be saying, no, I want to do this by myself, I don't think I need a partner. What would be your best advice when it comes down to saying, sometimes when you have more than one idea or more than one brain per se, two different people, there's more opportunities, right? Because I definitely, both of you guys bring a different, unique aspect to your business. Yet that can be very fearful. You can be very fearful to actually be in that partnership, not knowing what could happen, right? And so for you going through this journey, and even having that friendship behind it, and even working prior to COVID, trying to do all these things, be profitable, and then growing your business, what has been that driving factor to say, yeah, this partnership is worth doing and being and taking that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think before getting into a partnership with somebody, my recommendation would be go through a challenge or a struggle with that person unrelated to the business. If you can successfully overcome and have good chemistry throughout those struggles, it's a good sign that you found somebody that you can go into business with. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Dylan has taken more than a few jabs from me throughout the years, and I've accepted a few as well, but it's never personal, and we both take adversity very well. So yeah, that's what I would say, is look for somebody who's gonna welcome the challenge and work through it with you.
Yeah, I think a good quality trait is someone that won't quit, because it's not always, like Mitch said, going to be sunshine and rainbows. And that goes for a life partner as well. You want someone that's going to be able to see you struggle and be there for you. And then when you're at your peaks and you're at your best, they're going to be really proud of you. And I would also enforce putting in an agreement, especially when friends are partners. Friendship is definitely first. And fortunately for Mitch and I, we have inched our way into a partnership. We started as door-to-door sales guys that would share knowledge and make sure that we were sharing this knowledge so that each other could become more enhanced salespeople. But then when it came to building a company, this was a big relationship we were going to be jumping into. And the opportunity is so large that I think it's important that there is an agreement in place, because once money gets involved, right, sometimes things change. But fortunately, we do have a good agreement, and we feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely. So where did the idea came about in terms of, was it because of COVID, creating this living well air purifier? Was it because of COVID? Because of, where did that idea come about?
The idea, we were selling living walls commercially for 2 years before COVID, and we had been talking with thousands of architects, designers, engineers, and property owners at different trade shows. And in speaking with them, the two biggest objections we got about the product were the upfront cost. It was too expensive. And then the ongoing cost to maintain the plants. Mm-hmm. And so when COVID hit, it gave us the opportunity to look at the marketplace a little bit differently. We weren't sure if people were going to be in office any longer. And so we had to find a new way of selling these units. And that opened up the residential side of the business. And in doing that, we also had to evaluate whether we were going to be sending maintenance people to each person's home to maintain those walls, or if we could do it another way. Because when you hit the retail space, there's going to be scale, and having a labor force that's maintaining all these walls in people's homes is nearly impossible and quite expensive at that. So looking at those two objections of high cost and high cost of maintenance, we overcame the objection of this is too expensive by increasing the value of living walls. Many people think that plants clean the air, when in fact it's actually the plant root zone that cleans the air through a process called biofiltration, which we can get into detail a little bit later. But by planting the units hydroponically, we then developed a living wall air purifier. So we increased the value of the product, justifying the price. And then on the maintenance side, we implemented technology that allowed us to monitor plant health and ensure that they were within parameters to keep the plants healthy. So watering, lighting, and nutrient injection is all automated in the system, making sure that you can be hands off when it comes to maintenance. That's where the idea really stemmed from.
Got it. I like the idea how, working on that for 2 years, and then you get this pandemic, and, you have COVID, and kind of changes things, and, is making people do different things, right? And a lot of times, from my perspective, two things could happen. Either you're going to go down with whatever is taking place, or you're going to be changing the frame. And that's exactly what you did. You looked at things differently from a different perspective and say, how can I change this, or how can I modify and look at it from a different point of view? How can I take this that might be perhaps going through something that worked before, yet because of these circumstances, now you got to pivot and got to change that framing. And I think that's important to notate, because again, a lot of times it's really that we got to be able to see how can we look at things differently. How can we best service whatever we're trying to service, whether it's the market, whether it's certain particular avatars, and how did I change and modify those aspects to be able to have a win-win solution. And that's exactly what you guys have done here with this concept, right? Oftentimes I hear and I've talked to different people that sometimes from a pain or a situation, a purpose is born. And it seems like that's what you guys have been able to do here with your product, right?
Absolutely. It was the perfect storm to create something that we always knew there was a demand for, but couldn't really justify putting in the time because we were so busy on the commercial side. So yeah. It was a great opportunity.
Right.
I think it also lends itself to the philosophy of going towards your fear, which is something that Mitch and I share. Whenever we've been nervous about something in the past, we've moved towards it, and that's when we've seen the biggest rewards, whether that be door-to-door sales or any other business venture that we've partaken in. So this was aligned with that pattern, and we took the opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, and I like what you guys mentioned here is seek out where your fear exists and move towards it. This is where the greatest rewards exist, right? And definitely you've done that. When you come down to door-to-door sales, or even this product here, right? The biggest thing that I can see is rejection. You go to that door day in and day out, and you're knocking and you're trying to sell a product, whatever that might be, and people either are not answering the door, they're probably cursing you, they're probably shutting the door on you, and then there's one of few people like, yeah, I might be interested in learning more about it. How do you continue that without getting discouraged? Because again, the biggest thing that we as human beings don't want is we hate rejection, and there's a lot of rejection within that business, right? How do you overcome that?
For myself, it was about separating the rejection of what I was offering and whether they were rejecting me. I've never gone to a door. Maybe a few doors have rejected me for sure, just saying they didn't like me. But I think that it's important to separate that when someone's rejecting what you're bringing to the table as an idea or an opportunity or a sales pitch, they're not rejecting you. And if you don't take that personally and you can separate that and inform yourself that they're rejecting what you're offering, then it really allows you to not get emotional about it and just say, okay, I'm closer to my yes. I'm closer to my yes. And every no brings you closer to your yes. So I actually would welcome the rejection earlier in the conversation so that I can get on with my day and continue to move towards that yes. But the key is really separating it from they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting what I've brought to the table. And then you go back to the drawing board and you rework it.
So would you even prior to walking through those doors, like would you build on build your confidence, and going in with this yes mentality. Because sometimes, you hear this, right? Energy is transferable. So if you go in it without having that confidence or that courage, or you feel not too good about it, a little bit worried, what are they gonna think, what they're gonna say, you might be projecting that as you're going and knocking on those doors. So how was the beginning of it? How will you prepare yourself for that?
That's a great question. For me, I think we might have two separate answers, but I'll share my perspective. When I first started, I was doing the rejection piece and I was doing the door-to-door sales so that I could overcome that fear. It wasn't so much about the money. And the reason that I was able to stick with it was because my purpose for doing it was greater than money. It was like a character trait I was trying to build within. And so in knowing that, every time I was rejected, I was building that callus, or I was building that character that actually motivated me. And so going to the doors, you go, you get rejected, you move on, you get rejected, you move on, and you're continuously knowing that you're building that deeper purpose and that character, which is something that no one can take away from me, is that ability to just be unbreakable in terms of spirit. And so once you've worked through that rejection, you start getting better at the job, and then you make sales, that confidence is then built, and then it transitions, and you're going around the neighborhood, you're knocking doors. And if someone's rejecting you at that point, you're going, well, you just missed out on a great opportunity because someone else is going to take this. And so once you get to that point, that's when you step up from beginner to intermediate. And then from intermediate to expert is, taking rejection 3 or 4 times and then eventually turning it into a yes after that 5th time. Yeah, I think it's a stepping stone, is have a deeper reason for facing that rejection, know that it's building your character. And then once you become an excellent salesperson and you're actually closing deals, then you have the confidence, and it's kind of a bit of a laugh when someone says no, because you're like, well, someone's going to take this from me. So that was my experience in not being scared on the doors.
I love that. How about you, Mitch?
Yeah, Dylan and I's mentality is very aligned in that sense. For me, it was really about growing as an individual. And prior to that door-to-door experience, I was really big into the personal development, reading books all the time, learning about how the way you think influences your actions. But with all that knowledge I was consuming, I never really felt like I was changing all that much. And when I first started getting out in these neighborhoods and knocking doors, I was being tested, and I was getting opportunities to implement those things that I knew I should be practicing. So when I faced that rejection, I saw it as opportunities to grow. And it was a constant conversation with myself of, okay, so, how are you going to react to this? And what does this mean to you? And are you going to decide this is a bad thing or a good thing? And how can you reframe the way you think about this? And so it just kind of became a game of, how can I craft this experience to grow myself into the person I want to be?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that actually leads me to my next question. I think many entrepreneurs, if not all of them, they have taken this journey, right? You have a business idea, and you're gonna work on the business idea. And I like what Dylan mentioned. It was not about the money; it was more about the vision, the purpose, right? And I always tell people that if you're working for profits, you're doing it wrong. You got to be working for purpose. For sure, profits are important. That shouldn't be the driving factor, right? It should be that purpose, whatever that vision might be. And so a lot of entrepreneurs, what they do is they do exactly what you were talking about, Mitch, doing that self-development, working on yourself, reading books, getting familiar with what are all the successful people doing, so that I can take that same practice and do it in my own life, right? And so talking about that, and you kind of mentioned that a little bit, to what extent is your self-development? What are some of the things that maybe you had to change throughout your years coming to this point? Because I can tell you for myself, I definitely went through a journey where I wanted to really become that 1% better. And for me to be able to do that, I had to change a lot of my habits. Tony Robbins refers to them as rituals, daily habits, that you do, right? Whether it's you're doing affirmations, reading, going to events, networking, whatever that might be, something that I didn't do before. And I know for a fact I didn't do it before. And then when I changed those dynamics, things, I was in a different place, right? I started seeing different types of caliber of people to an extent. And I also started doing better habits to become that 1% better. What are you guys' habits or self-development look like?
Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I'll start because I know Dylan's morning routine is probably a little bit more extravagant than mine. For me, it's meditation every morning. That's really my cornerstone and what gets me going for the day. And then just some light journaling and intentions for throughout the day. I've gone through different habits that impacted me in different ways, and it's something that I truthfully at this point in my life need to move more towards and be more disciplined about my morning ritual. One of the best things that I ever did was documenting the lessons I learned and the new commitments I had moving forward. And that was done all throughout that door-to-door sales career and really accelerated my growth. So just really taking time in the mornings to set your intention for the day is one of my core habits.
Yeah, I'd like to build off of that. And I think the life is in a way so dynamic that people can end up biting off more than they can handle or biting off too little because they didn't realize how much they could push themselves. And sometimes you just get blown like a leaf in the wind with life because there's so much going on. And so if I were to sum up some of the most important habits that I have, and I know that Mitch shares, is being able to ground yourself at one point or another, or anchors. And that goes for a 5-year play, like every 5 years, make sure you're setting new goals. Every year, set new goals for the new year. Take time to reflect on what that year was and then what you plan for the next year. And then same on the 6-month basis, quarterly basis, monthly basis, weekly basis. You want to set times where you take a minute to get grounded, you reflect on what's been happening, and then you make adjustments to the course based off of who you want to become as a person. Because I think it's really important to check in with yourself and not get caught up in the noise and caught up in all the things that you can do in life. It's really important to narrowly focus on what it is you're trying to do and become, and take that time to really evaluate it and then put in place some actions or systems that allow you to get there. So the key habit and the core habit would be just taking the time at one point or another during the week, the month, the quarter, semi-annually, annually, and just throughout your life to really evaluate the course you want to take, where you've been, and how you want to get to the new place. And that also goes for your day, which is what Mitch was mentioning. Morning routine is a great grounding mechanism to look at your intention for the day and plan your day. And then middle of the day, evaluate how the first part of it has been. It could even be for 30 minutes. And at the end of the day, doing the same thing, reflecting on the day and looking ahead at the day ahead and making sure that evening you prepare yourself for an early morning.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with both of you guys. And talking about like setting up goals for the next year and things like that. I started doing this exercise, and I'm not sure if you guys heard of this. It's from Brendan Bashar, and he talks about creating a battle board, right? And the battle board is you essentially do, which is I think is a good exercise. And this is gonna be my 3rd year that I've been doing this, which you create your target goals for the next year, right? And then you take that and you even chunk it down by creating. You have this big vision. What do I want to accomplish in 2022 in this case? Take all of that, and then from there, I'm going to divide that big vision for the year and take it down by month. And so literally, I have on my bedroom, I have 12 pieces of papers, and each month I have those specific things that I want to talk about. And so that's kind of like the battle board that he talks about. And I think that's pretty well for me. It's been pretty useful because it keeps me grounded in terms of when am I going to publish my next book? When am I going to have my next house project? When am I going to do the next big thing? And it's not just in the business idea or the professional side of it. It's also, when am I going to take my next vacation? Like I literally put on my battle board that I'm going to be whatever, somewhere drinking a margarita on this month, right? And so making sure that you also take care of that, because it has to be a balance. It has to be a balance of not just work. It has to be also something that you enjoy and you're doing, right? From that perspective.
For sure.
I guess the only one thing that I would say to that is, you've often seen people have this. They start this habits. Actually, perfect example is New Year's. A lot of people say, "Hey, I want to lose weight by now that I'm over Christmas and Thanksgiving and I'm done eating all this stuff. I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna get really fit. I'm gonna be working on this." And they create all these New Year's resolutions. Yet a lot of people do not stay consistent to that. I think part of it is the consistency, is the fact that you're going to stick to it day in and day out. What is your advice to those people that they initiate and they have good intentions, they don't see the immediate results, whatever that might be, and then they tend to just give up and not continue? Because that's the same thing that happens with business too. Sometimes we don't see the profits, we don't see the customers coming in, we don't see all these things taking place, and then we get discouraged, and again, we kind of give up.
Yeah, it's a good question, and consistency is something that plagues a lot of people, including myself at times. I think there are three things that I would recommend doing that have worked for me in the past, just based off my experience. The first is looking at the goals you set and ensuring that there's deep-rooted intention, that you actually want to take the action and you believe that it's going to make you a better person and it's someone that you want to become. If it's not deeply rooted in intention, then it will just be a facade or a surface level goal. And once nobody cares about it, or once nobody's paying attention to you achieving that goal, then you're going to not care about it. So it really needs to mean something to you at your core. The second thing is those regular checkpoints, just putting in regular checkpoints. Don't set a goal at the beginning of 2022 and then be like, all right, by 2023, I'm going to check in and we'll see where I'm at. Have regular checkpoints daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, like I was mentioning in the past, because that'll keep you on track. And, if you check back at the end of the month and you've kind of disrupted or not followed the diet that you're supposed to be following for 3 or 4 days, definitely reward yourself, but find a way to actually get there over the 30-day period and take a look at where you might have messed up for those 4 days and why that would have happened. So being very analytical and methodical towards your goals. And then the final one would be just in relation to partnerships, having a good accountability partner, someone that's going to hold you accountable to the goals you set, and then you do that for them. It's really easy to give up on yourself when no one's watching. But if you know someone that that cares about you and you care for is holding you accountable to your goals, and you're both trying to make actionable, positive change, makes it a whole lot easier to accomplish it. And then you can both celebrate at the end of it, which is always nice. Celebrating with 2 people or more is better than just celebrating by yourself, I would say.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and just related to the health goals and the season that we're in, one of the biggest things that I've seen success with is just getting a little win in the gym or exercise. If your goal is to lose 50 pounds, don't expect to do that in a short amount of time. Go into the gym and spend 15 minutes if that's all you can do, and walk out feeling good. Don't go in there and beat yourself up and you can't walk for 4 days afterwards, because then why do you want to go through that again? Eventually, it's something you eventually want to build up to, and it develops that habit, which is really what creates long-term success in the gym, I think.
Something that Mitch actually said early in the business days was don't look too far ahead. Just get into it, and then you'll realize how far in you are, and then you have to keep going. When we first met the designer for this project, Tristan, he mentioned that it would probably take about 100K to bring this product to market. And we're well over that now. Had we known that it was going to be over 100K to bring this product to market, we probably would have never started. So the lesson we learned there, and something that Mitch constantly reiterates, is don't look too far ahead. Definitely plan for the future, but don't look too far ahead to the point where it seems like a daunting task. So that can be in relation to your goals as well.
Yeah, I definitely love that. I think both bring a lot of value, and I like that. A lot of times we're looking too far ahead, and then we get hung up with there's so much to do and maybe we're gonna be able to chunk it down a little bit more. Talking about your product, right? So you guys are expanding to the U.S., the American market. You're expanding to Europe. Tell me more about your product. How do people get a hold of your product? Are you selling? Obviously, you're selling to the residential industry. How do people find your product, or better yet, how do people find you guys?
So we're on social media at Respira_air, and we've been pre-selling our units off of Kickstarter for 30 days in January, where we pre-sold $240,000 worth of inventory, and then since then we've been pre-selling on our website. So products arriving in December. Pre-sales will be ending at the end of December, and then in January we'll have product on hand to be able to ship to everyone, and everyone's going to be receiving their units. So for now, pre-sales and acquisition of Respira can be found at respira.ca. There is going to be a URL change to respira_air.com, I believe, at some point, but for now it's respira.ca.
Yeah, Respira-air.
Respira-air.com.
Got it. And is the idea is to have your product at the retail markets too, for people to pick up and get them, or that's is that part of the idea?
Yeah, we're going to be jumping on some online marketplaces early days to get the word out there and get some eyes on it. We're also entering into retail with some Canadian retailers to begin. We're actually up in Ontario here, so in Canada. So we'll begin with the retail market here and looking to expand into the US retail shortly after that. We're also going to be on a show that maybe some of your listeners know called Meet the Drapers. So this show is an investment show where we jump on reality TV and we pitch against I think 20 or 30 other companies for a $500,000 reward. And we're coming down to LA. Hopefully we can meet with you, Cesar, at that time.
Yeah.
In February after we've won that show.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's gonna be exciting. When is that show gonna be airing? Is it a live show, or it'll air after a couple of days or weeks from recording?
Mitch, do you know that?
I'm not certain. I would think that it's in real time because the audience who is watching actually has the opportunity to invest in the companies on the show. So gotcha. I can't see there being too much of a delay, but I don't know if it's live.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everyone listening and watching this, you guys got to be able to jump on that. So make sure you guys follow them on social media too. I'm sure you guys are going to be posting when you're going to be at the show, so that way people can follow up with that. Yeah.
Definitely. And I was going to say, if you like the product and you like the business, there is an opportunity to get in through Seed Invest in investing in the company when we do jump on that show in February. Okay. So we also love to interact with our community and clients and customers. So definitely give us a shout if you have any questions about it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that. No, that's going to be pretty exciting for you guys, and I'm happy for you guys to be part of that. So I only have a couple more questions for you guys. You guys have given me a lot of great nuggets and a lot of great feedback. The one thing that I like to ask my guests is, a lot of times people are going through some sort of challenge, specifically right now in the middle of COVID. And actually, I don't know where we're at with COVID, but nevertheless, in this era, there's just so many challenges, and people are still trying to figure that out. And the holidays, and it just brings a lot of different feelings and emotions into the mix. For people that might be struggling and or going through some sort of challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is another advice that you can give them that they can start doing now to start overcoming that challenge?
Mitch, do you want to jump in with that one?
Sure, I'll do my best, Cesar. And everyone's got their own challenges, and it's hard for me to provide a golden nugget, but the way I address really, daunting challenges is really knowing that it will pass and not getting fixated on that challenge being your reality forever. I think you just got to trust that life will continue and you will not stay in one place. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed about the challenges that you have, your body doesn't want to stay there. You're gonna make some sort of action to move out of it. So just trust that you innately will move past the challenge that you're in.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really high level response. So I'll try and give one that's more nitty gritty or actionable. I think that that's where you start for sure. And then breaking down the challenge into more manageable bite-sized pieces. That seems to be a pattern here on the show that we've been cultivating. So I'll just reiterate that. Looking at the challenge, breaking it down, and then just implementing some action steps. Because if you don't implement an action step or a few of them to get through the challenge, then it's just going to seem larger than life. And that obviously consumes you, consumes your body, consumes your mind. And just breaking it down for really what it is in reality and then taking action towards it.
Awesome. My last question is, for those that are young entrepreneurs, they have this idea, except they don't know how to cultivate that idea, how to bring it into action. Similarly to, you guys starting that, a lot of times people say, I don't have the resources, I don't have the money, I don't have the means, I have a 9-to-5 or I have 2 9-to-5s. How did I get this idea, and how did I go from that, all those challenges, to like, hey, let me jump on this business idea and become my journey of an entrepreneur? And I know you guys were jumping back and forth between jobs and you made it happen. So I know you're probably one of the best people that can give us that advice. What will be your advice to those young entrepreneurs?
I'd start by saying, if you have an idea, the idea came to you for a reason. And you should follow that.
Right.
I don't think you should start wanting to be an entrepreneur just because you like the lifestyle, because I'm telling you, it's not what it be.
Right.
You're going to face some challenges, and it takes a lot of guts and chutzpah, I would say, to overcome those challenges. But definitely, if you have an idea, that idea came to you for a reason, and you should follow it and put the time in that you have. And then to take that next step, build a good team. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And building a good team allows you to have your blind spots covered. Different perspectives will help with key decisions in the future. And it's always nice when you can celebrate the wins and the losses, and you can face the losses rather with a group of individuals that's working to a common goal.
I love it.
My insight would be resourcefulness. If you're especially a young person who might not have a ton of resources, don't tell yourself the story that you need them to start. We actually started this business. I maybe had a couple $100s in my bank account, and Dylan had a $10,000 line of credit that we fully maxed out to start this thing. So I just had a friend who had a line of credit, and that's how we got this thing going. And we lived together for the first 2 years of business. We didn't rent an office. We worked where we lived to be more productive, and whatever the financial constraints were of our company, we worked within them, and then got creative to acquire new resources when we needed to. So just be resourceful, and just don't get confused that you need a lot of money to start.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that. Guys, I had an amazing time with you guys. Before I let you go, Dylan, Mitch, do you guys have anything else that you want to share in the show?
Yeah, we appreciate everyone that supported us early days. We have over 500 customers now that have prepaid for units, and we're extremely grateful for them. This is something that our team is waking up every day and putting 100% of their effort into. And although on the surface it may seem like we're not doing enough, we are at full max capacity right now, and we just appreciate everyone's support. We can't wait to jump on reality TV in February and have our first TV appearance, and we're thinking that it's going to bode well for us. We really want to go for that win, and we can't wait to deliver these products to everyone. And again, the mission is to progress the world towards more sustainable solutions that enhance our lives and connect us with nature. And we're excited for everyone to be a part of that journey that joins us.
Awesome.
Yeah, my one takeaway would be follow your fears. That was really the piece of advice that guided Dylan and I to where we are, and really caused the greatest growth in our lives. So that's what I would have to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. I love everything you guys are doing. And so thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Caesar.
Thank you, Caesar. It's been great.
Yeah. Definitely. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor, make sure you guys follow them on social media, connect with them, stay tuned for their appearance in LA in February. And do me a favor, share this podcast because somebody needs to hear this. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.